watching Estuary News. I'm Hugh Riches. Coming up tonight, we'll have a roundup of the latest news headlines, and in the sport, we'll be hearing from the Hull City, Scunthorpe and Grimsby managers ahead of this weekend's fixtures. And I'll be reviewing the week's regional papers with my guest, Dave Laister, business editor of the Scunthorpe and Grimsby Telegraphs. A Hull man has been sentenced to life in prison following the murder of his wife. 43-year-old Habib Nourzai stabbed his wife to death while their children were in the house. He then dumped her body next to a dual carriageway close to the Humber Bridge. He had pleaded guilty to the murder at a hearing on Thursday and was ordered to serve a minimum of 18 years of a life sentence in prison at Hull Crown Court today. The leader of the Labour Party has been giving his reaction to the Carillion crisis, which has affected thousands of workers across our region. Jeremy Corbyn was speaking in Grimsby yesterday. Earlier this week, the construction and maintenance company announced it was to go into liquidation, threatening the Lincoln Eastern Bypass project. Carillion was awarded the £99 million scheme, but it's now been delayed, and the County Council are looking at ways to proceed with their plans. Mr Corbyn says the government needs to step in urgently to help those affected with a sensible approach.
The idea that they would be paid for 48 hours and then phone a DWP helpline is frankly insulting to them. And it's not reasonable for the government to say, well, actually they should carry on working. Work has already stopped on the new Liverpool hospital because nobody is confident they're going to get paid. It's up to the government to now step in and not just have the receiver there, but to administer the company in a proper way to ensure that those contracts are seen through and the public ones are brought under public control.
A Skegness shop owner has pleaded guilty to selling unsafe toys. 42-year-old Nihal Singh Chauhan was found to be possessing toys which had sharp parts, choking hazards and unsecured battery compartments, meaning children could find small button batteries that they can swallow. An investigation by Lincolnshire Trading Standards led to Mr Chauhan's prosecution. He admitted breaching 11 toy safety regulations and one charge of possession of criminal property under the Proceeds of Crime Act 2002. He was ordered to pay £5,000 and carry out 200 hours of unpaid work as part of a 12-month community order. Police have found a jacket linked to the murder of a Grimsby man. It follows an appeal yesterday in which a member of the public spotted a light grey Lyle and Scott jacket. 45-year-old Tony Richardson was assaulted in the town on Monday afternoon and later died in hospital. A 44-year-old man and a 36-year-old woman have been arrested. Inquiries continue. The outgoing chair of Hull 2017 has been praising the volunteers who helped make the Year of Culture a success. More than 2,000 volunteers played a key role in Hull's cultural programme, which totalled 300,000 hours of activity. Rosie Millard says the volunteers symbolised the spirit of Hull in 2017.
The Hull volunteers are made up of people right across the city and the East Riding. And what is so wonderful is that they've been so apparent at everything through the year, so that when you as a visitor arrive at an event, you see the familiar blue jacket and you think, this is going to be great, this is going to be a City of Culture event, I'm going to be looked after, I'm going to be encouraged, I'm going to be enthused. It's like a sort of tick mark of quality to have a volunteer there. They have been absolutely remarkable, and people who've never been to Hull before have contacted me, complete strangers, and just said we had a wonderful time in Hull, and most of all the volunteers, your volunteers, were terrific. And that has happened to me several times, more than that could just be a coincidence. They have been remarkable.
Meanwhile, the chief executive of the City of Culture graduated today. Martin Green received an honorary degree from the University of Hull. He was awarded a CBE in the Queen's New Year's Honours List for his leadership during the City of Culture. He was in charge of the city's year-long arts programme. Fitness mentors are to boost the health and well-being of police staff at Lincolnshire Police Force. The scheme is designed better to equip staff mentally and physically to deal with the challenges of the job. The volunteer mentors will dedicate up to 4 hours a week to the role. They'll provide flexible support and advice on how to get fit and maintain a healthy lifestyle. The project's been developed by the University of Lincoln. Over 200 patients with serious lung conditions can now receive hospital-style treatment in their own homes. Hull and East Yorkshire Hospitals NHS Trust has introduced non-invasive ventilation to help patients stay out of hospital. Using the device at home will prevent patients going into acute respiratory failure for which they have to go to hospital. The project's designed to reduce unnecessary admissions. Scarborough Borough Council has announced plans to improve the town's traffic lights. A number of people voiced their concerns over problems with the lights. Councillor Janet Jefferson wants the lights to be better sequenced to help pedestrians cross safely. And Hull's Chinese community is hosting a piano concert next month. It's a showcase of Eastern and Western music with a host of local children performing alongside celebrated musician Cecilia Shi-Ying Huang. She's an award-winning piano lecturer in China. The concert takes place at Hull City Hall on the 17th of February, and this is the year of the dog. Now, to have a look through the week's regional papers, I'm joined by Dave Laister, business editor of the Grimsby Telegraph, amongst much else. Dave, thanks very much for coming in.
Pleasure.
What do you think of my Chinese pronunciation?
I was very impressed.
I've had a lot of practice recently. What have you got here? First story is one of your own stories.
It is, yes.
This is a business and an environmental story.
It is, yes. I've been very pleased to follow this story the last 5 years, really. Moulded Fibre Products. It's a sort of industrial setup in Flixborough, just west of Scunthorpe. And it's a company that deals in the basically pulp products. It's waste, cardboard and paper. It's processed with a lot of water and heated, and they churn out sort of everyday items that you'll see in the supermarket for fresh produce, and it goes into sort of packing for TVs, computers when you can pull it out of the box, that sort of thing. And also, and this is the main reason for this story, is they've just won a huge contract with the NHS for sort of kidney pots and basic bowls and others that one-off uses basically. That
point is with this material is that it's organic.
It's not plastic.
It's
yes.
not plastic.
Yes.
And it is, and thus it'll eventually one day it'll rot down and just presumably even be nutritious to the soil.
That's right. Or they can go again. They can have a closed loop cycle and they can reprocess themselves. But yeah, it's fully compostable, fully biodegradable. And I think you'd have to be living on a different planet to notice the fact that plastics is the current big evil that everyone seems to be trying to eradicate.
I think that's largely thanks to David Attenborough.
Yes, I think he's had a role to play in it, certainly. And everyone's picked up the baton. Governments, Europe, everywhere is really looking at what they can do about this. And it's great that on our doorstep here we've got a company that's primed and ready to go. They're keen to help all they can.
Well, that's a brilliant sort of environmental story. I think the next one as well, we're on a bit of a theme here. This is a solar park project. This is going to be built in North Lincolnshire, the Little Crows Solar Park project. INRG Solar would like to put down a 220-hectare solar farm, effectively.
Yes, we're flipping over the other side of Scunthorpe here to just north of Forest Pines Hotel, backing onto the steelworks, and this is a big shiny field. I think that's going to be
very big. I mean, you know this region a little bit better than I do. This is running from British Steel all the way out to Broughton.
Yeah, it'll come north of the Forest Pines sort of hotel and golf course, which in itself is no small acreage, and that will sit above there, and it is a big vast area. I'm not sure if it's going into the national grid or if, in fact, British Steel may well be capitalising on this energy generation.
It's said the plans could power around 36,000 homes in the region, which is about half the amount of homes in North Lincolnshire. And it would also, the company also says the development would save around 50,000 tonnes of carbon dioxide emissions per year. So again, very environmentally friendly. Cheap power straight from the sun, and the proposals would also cater for 50 megawatts of battery storage on the site, meaning the park would be able to export electricity when there's no sunlight.
Yeah, this is becoming a big theme for energy production now. It's not just generating it when the renewables are there; it's holding it and making sure that when they're not there, when you've got a cloudy night, a dark night time,
or night with no wind.
Yeah, if we can regulate and remove the variable of renewables, then it's a great thing for the energy industry.
Also, the other problem here mentioned. Meanwhile, local residents have said they support the idea of clean energy, but have concerns about the construction of the site. There's going to be perhaps a perfectly understandable element of NIMBYism.
There's always a small element of pain whenever there's a construction project, isn't there? Yes.
Now, here we are. One further environmental and energy one. Energy giant powers ahead with biomass. This is from the Hull Daily Mail. This is new biomass energy with, of course, that biomass fuel being exported in by sea from the Humber.
Yes, Drax, maybe 5-6 years ago now, started a £700 million project to basically move from coal to biomass. We know where the government stands on coal. It's 2025. It's going to be eradicated from the system. Drax was providing 8% of the electricity for the UK. I think basically it equates to sort of keeping the lights on in Leeds and West Yorkshire, which is a huge connovation. And they had to go somewhere with it, and it was either lose that business or adapt, and they've adapted and they've gone for biomass. Immingham and Hull play a huge part in that. Immingham's the world's largest reception facility for biomass, shipped all the way from sort of Louisiana, sort of United States, that come across the Atlantic into Immingham, Hull, Liverpool as well. And they're offloaded straight onto these fantastic new wagons that will be the envy of anyone's train set, I'm sure. And they go basically in a single movement from Immingham out across to Drax, and they sort of unload and then straight into the silos and burn.
But what is the biomass industry's gain is the coal industry's loss as well, in terms of jobs as well as everything else.
Definitely, yeah. Immingham has been a very huge coal.
Good. I have to stop there for a moment, Dave. Join me after the break. We'll talk about the newspapers a little bit more after the break, and we'll have the sport with Jack. Well, we'll hear from Nigel Adkins, Graham Alexander and Russell Slade. Welcome back. You're watching Estuary News. Still to come tonight, we'll have the thoughts of Nigel Adkins, Graham Alexander and Russell Slade ahead of tomorrow's games. And still with me in the studio, Dave Laister, business editor of the Grimsby Telegraph, and much else, still reviewing the week's newspapers. We talked about energy, environment, infrastructure there. Dave, a bit more infrastructure here. £2 million proposal for a coast highway in Lincolnshire.
Yes, I mean, Lincolnshire, fabulous county as it is, it's not the easiest to get around. What it has is in lovely rural charm. It lacks in quick transport links, and I think this will be a great saviour for that "are we nearly there yet, Dad?" question. I think this will be at least that'll come a little bit further into the journey.
Have quieter children, Dave. That's the answer to that. More patient children. Lincolnshire, of course, one of the few counties that has absolutely no mileage of motorway across it at all.
Exactly, nothing, yeah.
So this is one of the county's biggest road schemes, and it's designed really to boost the tourism industry on the coast, Skegness especially, but I guess Mablethorpe as well, just to get people across from the sort of centre of the country.
Definitely, better access, and as much as it's great to live in a tourism destination, and as a Cleethorpes resident myself, it also helps the locals as well, because you know that you'll be able to move around quicker, and when it is a Saturday and Sunday and the crowds are flocking in and the sun's shining, you can get around as well. So it's good news for everyone.
It's not a motorway proposal. It's just a
bypass and dual carriageway.
Dual carriageway. Thank you. That's the phrase I was looking for. Now, one of the other charms of dual carriageways might be more valuable. One of the other charms of driving in Lincolnshire is the tractor, and you have found there is a tractor. Oh, I've lost the front page, but here we are. The tractor, the tractor's roll. What is a tractor festival? A tractor jamboree? A tractor.
There's definitely a word there somewhere, isn't there? A collective noun of tractors. But this could be the reason for a lot of these bottlenecks, perhaps, if these guys are out on the roads. But there's a fantastic collection of vehicles here, young and old, no doubt intrigued by them. And I think there's some certainly that are rivaling the mother-in-law for age on the road there. There's some brilliant vehicles, but it's yes, you can't go far in Lincolnshire without seeing the odd agricultural vehicle, but there's plenty there to look at.
And on the whole, quite welcome. This was a big sort of I'm going to say jamboree.
Jamboree, we'll go with that.
For tractors, and this was raised £882 for cancer research. The Cancer Research UK on Sunday, and that was the annual Middle Raisin Tractor Road Run, headed off on its rural route. Very elegant it was too, I'm sure. Now, here's a business story. This is a bit of local, sort of business culture, isn't it?
It is, yeah. They're starting the demolition work at Ron Ramsden's Superstore, which will be remembered and revered by hundreds, if not thousands of people, because it was the first superstore as we knew it in the Grimsby area. Ron Ramsden, son Dudley, and grandsons in the business now really have sort of carved a niche in retail in the Grimsby area and much further now too. And this is kind of it's a sad time really, because inevitable you lose some jobs when you close a big superstore down, but it just shows the way things have changed. But these guys were here before Tesco, before Asda, sort of piling it high, selling it cheap, and it worked for many years. And obviously then the competition caught up, the national chains came through, but they've evolved, and they'll continue to do so, I'm sure.
And so they've got a sort of international profile.
Yes, Ramsden International, very successful Grimsby-based business that sends groceries, I think, to 130 different countries around the globe. So
And what will happen? Is it Grimsby Road or Cleethorpes Road that the shop was on? The original
it's the
shop?
very corner of Cleethorpes Road there, and it's up Cleethorpes Road, which is Grimsby, because Grimsby Road is Cleethorpes.
Yes, indeed. Yes, all very
Yes.
elegant and reflective, all very yin and yang, isn't it?
Yes.
But so what's happening to the site?
It's going to be redeveloped by Wykeland, which is a strong Hull-based property developer, and they're looking at a retail park there.
Okay, so that's positive, I suppose. It's moving on. Now, here we are. Story close to your heart.
Definitely.
NHS Heroes. It happens to be in the Hull Daily Mail, but it could be in pretty much any of the papers. NHS Heroes who help save tiny babies every day. And this is the neonatal clinic, this one talking about the neonatal clinic in Hull.
Yes, I think it's fantastic to shine a light on the real heroes of the NHS. In my mind, speaking from personal experience, my little boy was 10 weeks early into this world. Complications led to that, and he was fighting for a good few days and on the ward in Grimsby for best part of 7 weeks. He's absolutely fine, thankfully. He pulled through, and he was a very strong lad. He was a good weight when he was born so early. I think he had his father's genes.
Right.
And but they are amazing people, absolutely amazing. We hear so much about the NHS, and you hear it's usually followed by the word crisis, or sort of.
Well, the crisis
These
isn't caused by the staff of the NHS. I think everybody
No.
admires the staff of the NHS
Yes,
tremendously.
We certainly do, and I just think it's great when we get a chance to shine a light on the work they do, because they are tremendous people, and the care and attention, and you're in a little bubble in those places. The world outside doesn't exist. It's about you and your child and the team there. And they are incredible people.
I think the ones in Hull are just glad not to be having to print their babies' feet as they have been throughout the year of culture. What do you think of this job, Dave? Justin brings his eye for detail to Bondville Village.
This is brilliant.
They want a gardener for a miniature village.
Excellent. I mean, what a job. The prospect of them maintaining large lawns and everything fills me with dread, but this guy's going to look after it on a miniature scale. I mean,
well, it's going to be a really tiny sit-on mower, isn't it?
Yeah, I imagine the scissors may be out, but it's just an incredible job and a real eye for detail, I'm sure. I can't imagine being many large plants to deal with. I think it will be very small.
I think that's one of the nicest-looking careers you could possibly find. Dave, thanks very much for coming in.
Pleasure.
Here's Jack with all the sports news.
We'll begin with football, and Hull City have a big opportunity to end their long search for a league win. The Tigers head to the Stadium of Light to face bottom of the table Sunderland in a crucial game in the Championship relegation battle. The Mackems were relegated from the Premier League alongside Hull last season, and both clubs have continued their struggles into this campaign. Head coach Nigel Adkins said his players need to approach the game with the right mentality.
We need to go and have our mindset is we're going to win every game of football, and that's what we've done since we've joined. And that's what we need to go and do. It's not the end of the world if we don't win the game, because we've got another game after that. But I've highlighted to the group, and I'm publicly highlighting, you can't let one training session go by. It's an opportunity to improve. We can't afford to let one game go by, because the points up for grabs are there. We can't just think, we'll be all right next week, or we'll be out the week after that. We're not going to be. We're at the wrong end of the table. We're in a relegation battle from there, but we've got 19 league games to go. The next one is the most important, and we've got to do everything we can to go and win that game of football.
In League One, Scunthorpe United face a tough trip to one of the league's in-form sides tomorrow. The Iron take on Gillingham at Priestfield Stadium, a side who have excelled in their last 6 games, winning 4 and drawing 2. Likewise, United haven't lost in any of their previous 6 matches either, so it should make for a competitive game down in Kent. Due to recent injuries, Scunthorpe have had to play players out of position to plug the gaps. Dwayne Holmes is one of those players, having moved from attacking midfield to right back due to Jordan Clark's absence. Manager Graham Alexander was full of praise for Holmes.
Preferably, I want to play Dwayne higher up the pitch because I think he's been fantastic, to be honest, Dwayne Holmes, in the last 3 months especially. And if you look over his actual his productivity for the team this season with his goals and assists and just his general play, I think he's been superb. But we know where his real quality wins matches, and it's further up the pitch. But but what I can say about Dwayne and plus other players that have done it is they're willing to play wherever to help the team, and that's a great environment to be involved. And but if we can help the players by getting players in, to release players into their natural positions, I think it only helps each individual and the team, of course.
On to League Two now, and Grimsby Town are also on the road this weekend. The Mariners make the long trip down to Essex to play Colchester United tomorrow afternoon. Town are in terrible form, having lost 5 of their last 6 games in League Two. A big loss for the club has been the injury to James McEwen. Grimsby's #1 goalkeeper hasn't played since sustaining a groin injury in the Boxing Day clash against Mansfield Town. Manager Russell Slade understands McEwen's frustration as he battles to return to playing action.
It takes a little bit of time to get back, and he is working really hard in the gym and with Dave Moore. They're on it, so he'll have his good days and he'll have his days where it's a little bit stiffer again and maybe he has to take a little step back. So it's frustrating for him. It's frustrating for any player when they're injured, but particularly for Macca at this moment in time.
All 3 of the games involving Hull City, Scunthorpe and Grimsby kick off at 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, and as always I'll bring you a roundup of all the results in Monday Sport. And finally, in Rugby League, Hull FC's new captain has some bold ambitions for the new season ahead. Speaking about being appointed captain, Danny Houghton said, "The biggest thoughts that went through my head was hopefully getting the opportunity to lift some silverware at the end of the season. It would be an amazing feeling to be the first man to get my hands on the Challenge Cup or the Super League trophy." He added, "As a boy, I used to stand on the terraces at the Boulevard week in, week out, and I would never have dreamed of captaining this club." Hull-born Houghton was given the Black and White's captaincy after being promoted from the role of vice-captain. And that's all for this week's sport. Back to Hugh in the studio.
Thanks very much, Jack, and thanks to Dave Laister of the Grimsby and Scunthorpe Telegraph. That's it for tonight. If you've a story for us, then Facebook and Twitter pages are available. Email news@estuary.tv or phone Grimsby 0147231 5553. Or you can write to us at Estuary TV, Grimsby, DN345BQ. Have a magnificent weekend. Good evening.